All right.
All right, hard yarners.
We are here promoting health, but that's brought to you by Feed.
Feed. Good. A bit of a supplement. They've got the oyster, they got the beef liver, they got the beef organ capsules. I've been having them pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I'm almost out. I'm going to hit them up for more. But they got organic honey and collagen as well.
Which is, I'm sure, all good for your gut biome, which we're going to hear about later.
Yes, 100%. But, mate, definitely get involved. Use hard yarn as a code word. And I think that, I don't know if it's 10 or 15% off. I should get better at knowing that. But hit them up. Feed. All the links are in our bio and show notes. Also, this episode is brought to you, speaking of health, Goat Tape.
Yep.
Goat Tape helps you breathe easier at night.
Shout out to Kerry.
Yeah, Kerry, thanks for
Came down
coming
on
down to the
Saturday
run.
morning.
Yeah, incredible stuff. I was using it during the run, but it's not just the exercise. I genuinely have started to feel a lot better by using it. When I sleep, if I forget to put it on before I go to bed, I definitely notice, it's the nose tape that opens it up. I definitely notice a difference.
Yeah.
So
you
get involved.
get a discount and we get a kickback. So give it a go. Give it a goat.
Give it a goat.
And
Hard yarn. And
speaking of giving it a go, I've tried to give golf a go on Sunday. Shot 140.
Oh no!
So,
but were you wearing?
I was wearing kahuna.
Oh no!
But I did have a few people ask what I was wearing, and I gave him our show notes, and he's going to buy some kahuna golf gear.
Oh, perfect. They look good, feel good, play good. They actually gave us a few hats and stuff for the players. It was good.
Sunday.
It's great. Hard yarn for 15% off, and thank you so much for all the support. And finally, this episode is brought to you by
alltradescover.com.au.
If you're at home right now, you can see the wonderful big logo there behind our wonderful guest, Dr. Sally Price. But this episode is brought to you by them. They cover all the trades needs, really, I guess. Specifically, do you know anything, Daniel?
No.
No.
Legally, I can't say. I have been called out on this many a time. But if you're a small business owner, just call them up and compare. It doesn't hurt. It could save you some money.
Yep.
And even if it's the same price, maybe next time you got to renew, drop our name.
I like that.
And it keeps us on board.
Yeah, it gets us going. But we were joined by Dr. Sally Price.
Great episode today. Very informative.
Yeah.
One of the coolest doctors I've ever met.
Yes.
One of the most logical.
What did we chat about today, Dr. Sally Price?
Oh, goodness me. It was wide-ranging, wasn't it? I think we went from Ayurvedic to AHPRA to the cabal of medicine to like why medicine is kind of a complete mess at the moment. Deregistration and gut microbiome,
getting your gut healthy,
different body types,
re-education,
having re-education,
how to stop your cravings at night if you want ice cream.
Yeah, that's right.
Bloody good episode.
Yep.
I think a lot of people
bit of coaching thrown in there.
Thank you so much for joining us. Bloody awesome episode. And,
listen to the end for some awesome recipes.
Yes. Get the recipes in the recipe book, the Biome Builders recipe book.
Heck
That's
yeah.
good.
Perfect.
Let's get healthy.
Let's get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host,
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
Yeah, I jumped off a waterfall in Bali when we were canyoning and the water went in my ear and infected it and never came back. So if I ever get a wife, I'll keep her on my right side. just feign ignorance. So
we ran 40 Ks and had 4 pints.
Yeah.
On Saturday morning.
Branchy loves to do things that punish his body.
Yeah, actually, I found this run really tough.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because what?
Well, 40 Ks. 40 Ks is hard enough as it is.
2 Ks short of a marathon.
Yes.
Are you normally a runner? Is that
I do.
Like that's how you like to kind of de-stress and stuff?
I actually thought the other day, though, I was like, I've got to choose a different fucking hobby. This is getting a bit much. But
he did 100 Ks last year, 80 Ks the year before. He just enjoys seeing what his body can do.
Maybe meditation.
Yeah, well, he does that as well.
Every day. So, no, that's more like I'll get into why I do it in a minute. But it was just the fact that the heat
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was really hot.
The heat. The heat. It killed me. It was really bad. And coming into that last 100 metres, so we sort of all stuck together, but you'd separate at time to times. Like some people might needed a walk at certain points.
Yeah.
And the last 100 metres, my quads were just rocks.
good.
Just rocks. Because I don't cramp when I run an ultra. I prep a bit more. I drink, my hydration plan is a bit better. But this is for whatever reason in my head, I think, it's not 100, so it's only 40.
You?
No,
Let's face it,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
no, it's pretty standard for me. But no, I prepped enough. Like I was fit, but not long distance. I've run 5 times a week, but just short distances.
But we had about 20 to 30 join us at different.
And a lot of people, there was a lot. Like last year we had 4 people run the whole thing.
Yeah.
This year I think we had probably,
Looked like 12 or
we had
10
a
or 12.
fair few run the whole thing. So that's great.
So started at 9, have a pint from Mullaloo, run to Froth, which
Have
was 10Ks basically. Froth to Clancy's,
Yes.
8 and a bit.
Yep, have another
And then
pint.
Clancy's to Oceans back to Mullaloo. 16K last leg.
The Ocean's leg was not too bad. It's only 5Ks, but yeah.
That's where my foot blew up. I've got a broken foot. I haven't ran for like 3 months. So I tried a few Ks. I did 13.
Did well, man.
13.5, which was half of last year. But then my foot felt like I had a basketball on my left foot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was good. It was good fun. Everyone
right.
showed up. We made $3,700
Something like that.
to care.
Yeah, to care bags. They have foster kids around WA and they create like a little care package that they can take into it when they get a new family, like toiletries and things like that. So and then the run up to Christmas. So
Big shout out to Jagger and Brooke for really pushing it on socials.
and they were great as well. Brooke McIntosh, who ran with us, who I can't remember if I told you, she's Camden McIntosh's brother, sister.
Nice.
And she like runs 35Ks in the morning. That's like the normal.
Just for a warm up.
Yeah, so she's running around Australia in February. So
Yeah. So
very good. Thank you for
Big
everyone
thank
who
you off the
donated. It was an incredible day, and that money's going to care bags. It's open. The donation link's open till Friday. So if you still want to donate any more money that goes towards them, it's another care bag for another kid in foster care.
that's right. And if you don't donate, you hate kids. So, so get on board.
Yeah. So, but that aside, on to our guest.
Yeah.
Sally, we met. Was it last Friday or the Friday before? 2 Fridays ago at the Great Debate.
Yes.
In the I guess the green room area.
The VIP room
VIP
that
room.
Chloe and I snuck into.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we did ask Adrian actually.
Oh,
but,
nice.
Yes, and
Didn't have the posh tickets. Or
no,
anything.
Chloe snuck me in as well. So
Oh right, yeah.
I did not pay.
So we were all imposters.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
But it was incredible to see some people like we both were talking to Russell Broadbent and what a fucking gem of a.
I know.
If
These men.
I couldn't
these
believe,
men are
like,
amazing.
you
aren't
talk
they?
about
It's just,
Senator like Delby talks about this a fair bit, and he's mentioned it that there's a detachment from like what people actually want and think within the senators. They're just so detached from reality.
I feel government and people. There's the politicians
There's
that
a
meant to
whole
represent
chasm
us.
now.
They've got no.
And that's what we're seeing everywhere because I've sort of spoken in Fremantle Council a couple of times. And they kind of allow you your 3 minutes and switch you off and then say no.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you want from hearing from the people.
It's like,
you got 3 minutes.
aren't you my representatives? Kind of like, are you representing your community? Like, are you doing your best by the community? Or are you just doing woke stuff?
Yeah, I was going to say Fremantle especially.
Yeah.
What's happening? What is happening down there? Everything they put into place, I'm like, someone has a left-wing agenda or just some sort of moral virtue signalling agenda down there. Yeah. Because is that your local constituent? Yeah.
Yes. Being very cautious about what
There's nobody I mean, there's one person to talk to there now. But like, you know, I mean, we're still waiting. I think we haven't found out exactly, but, you know, there was some stuff about the election being, like, not completely...
Fair?
Yeah.
Allegedly?
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah.
What the local one?
I think fraudulent.
Fraudulent
may
is
be
the word.
thing.
Really? Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I don't know.
But yeah,
so there's things still to come out in the wash around that. But then, you know, it's just like you said, it's this disconnection of like, here I am talking about deaths and DNA contamination and, increased death rates up to 24%. I think it's up to 30% in some countries now. And you kind of go in and they kind of go, no, we're not doing anything about that.
Yeah. And just to hear someone like, just the way Russell was talking, like we are talking right now, just a normal person, and the actual compassion and the understanding that he seems to have for everyone. Not enough of it. So want to see more people.
But wasn't
like
that
him.
Friday just a fantastic night to see everybody there
with 2 weeks' notice to pack
the
out
most incredible thing?
2 weeks' notice? Was it put on before?
It was something like that. I mean, I've got flyers in my bag of whenever, I'm getting that out and around. But I mean, the only problem is how much of an echo chamber that was. But given that there was 500,000 people watching live online, and then the bits that you see going around X, which, Ian Bright-Hope and Julian Gillespie, who both broke down, and there's nothing more powerful, I think, than men that can have the courage to be vulnerable in that way. And, I mean, that was so touching for everybody that those were the most shared things that I've seen going around on X.
I'm glad you mentioned you got to be careful of having an echo chamber, because literally just before you got here, I was saying to Branch that we got to be very careful that we're not an echo chamber and you just get guests on that align with some sort of idea that we have. I would love to get people on that are from the opposite side, or at least acknowledge that there's two sides to every argument. So,
well, it's also more so as well, the wobbly middle. Like there's the people already think like us. People already think like that. You're not going to reach them.
We've got to join it together.
You're not going to reach them, and these people are convinced.
I'd say I'm the wobbly middle.
Yeah, there's the wobbly middle of which like they're just open to hearing things, and if you steamroll in with like, there's a child trafficking pedophile ring in Hollywood, like they're going to go, fuck, whoa,
too much.
You've lost me. So you just dip the toe in and you have sensible conversations, and I think that is a great way to do it, is to get people from both sides of the argument and just have a chat and a conversation with them.
And then just throw in a bomb.
Just
every now and
then.
Well, if you can stump them. If you can stump them from time to time, or they can stump you and make you go, or maybe I've been a bit too all in on this. So I think that's healthy.
No, I mean, the thing that's most important to address is that cognitive dissonance, because cognitive dissonance is where, and, humour is a fantastic way to take that apart. And really, Corey White, I'm kind of like, because he just says stuff and, it can be really confronting. And a lot of the stuff that we've been through in the last 4 going on 5 years is very, very confronting. And it's almost like you're not allowed humour. You're not allowed to. But, it gets to a point where, now I'm putting up on my Instagram, like the Pfizer Advent calendar, which is like the drawers with the, dead people in it. Because I'm just like, it's just gone too far now. Right? And you've been screaming into a void for so long, and it's decimated my life. And it's like, why can nobody see this? And, and I do hang around with a whole bunch of people that also can see it. And I think it's really interesting, the journey that's led a lot of people to that. And it's interesting when we sort of take it apart that a lot of those people have had to confront things in their past. And so,
bring that closer,
so they're more, they can see things that others can't. Like if you've had a really, really comfortable life and everything's been handed out to you and all of that stuff, if you haven't had to confront difficulties and so forth, and you haven't found your own integrity, your own centre, your own ethics, then it's like, you're not going to be aware of all the weird stuff that's going on, I suppose. So I guess that would be interesting from you guys that you've got to this point.
I had no idea about anything. Branchy's the one that's sort of opened me up. Even when we first started talking about all the strange things that were happening in the world, I was still like, it was more fun. Like I felt like it was fun. Like,
this is a bit weird.
Can't be weird. Can't be real. I wasn't really like, too invested. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, maybe. It feels like that's pretty evil. Like that can't be real.
And that's the way you should skeptical, even you now have gone to that point where like you can't unsee it once you've seen it, and I think that's a perfect example of the wobbly middle sort of going, oh, okay, no, I see.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, it's like, fucking hell, what is going on?
Well, like we were just saying before, like, you know, and I don't know if my glasses are wrong. I've been looking up, and my polarized glasses, I look in the sky and I can see the pollution in the sky in a clear blue sky, and you're like, I don't know what the polarized glasses do to be able to see that, but
maybe you got pollutionized.
But yes, 100%.
The shards of aluminium kind of raining down on us.
How's they just admitting, like, we've been cloud seeding for 40 years, and they call it cloud seeding, not chemtrails.
Exactly.
Anyone who said they were spraying chemtrails in the sky a conspiracy theorist, and now it's just.
And then you look it up, and there it is. Like it's all black and white.
And I said this to Delby the other day, and he was like, "Is the fucking Earth flat?"
Everything's coming out.
Everything.
It's all up for grabs now, isn't it? It's just like, but you know, I think the thing is you have to have a healthy skepticism, and you have to kind of see what you can actually find in your experience. And I guess that's been one of the difficult things is, you know, being in touch with so many other doctors and so many other people that reach out to me since I stopped officially, like stopped working. Well, I deregistered from AHPRA, I suppose.
Well, let's hear about that, because we've spoke a bit about sort of our stuff. Let's hear about you. So, like, before we get into that, maybe just tell us your background and up to that point. Yeah, that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, I mean, how far back do you want to go? So, so I did my medical, normal medical training in one of the top schools in the UK at Bart's Hospital, and in the final year, people go on long elective, and so a lot of my year came to Australia, and everybody was full of, it's much better conditions, it's much better to go, you know, and also neighbours. But, you know, like that was playing at lunchtime when people were sort of sitting around lunch and just like, oh, look at those blue skies.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But put the polarised glasses on there.
Yeah,
they're not blue.
Yeah. So, you know, I got towards the end of my house jobs, and I was like, oh, God, everybody else has got the rest of their life organised. They've either got married or they've got on a rotation, which is like all the jobs to become, you know, a specialist or a GP or whatever it's going to be. And so there was a BMJ with these tiny lines of, here's a job in, you know, Western Australia
BMJ?
and
Big man.
British Medical Journal. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, one of those fine print, dodgy things that, you know, captured by the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
So I just applied. There were 2 jobs. I just applied for both those jobs, and I got the one in Swan District Hospital in Midland, where I was totally unsupported.
Wow.
Just doing emergency department stuff.
Wow.
So as soon as I kind of got through my house jobs,
So it's house jobs. So the series
that's like
House
internship.
So it's called House.
Oh, so the lowest of the low. So on all those shows, like the lowest of the low, the intern, the one that's basically, you know, running around finding results and taking blood and doing, you know, stuff on the So it's kind of like the final apprenticeship, baptism of fire.
Yeah, okay.
And you got put in Swan Districts of all places.
And then Swan District was a gift after that, because you would be working 7 days of 10 hours and then have a week off. And then you'd be working 7 days of 14-hour overnights, and then you'd have a week off. So
that
for somebody from the UK, that's like, wow, this is awesome. I'll go out and get a bike and go cycling around. And
every second week.
Enjoy my,
7 hours, 7 days of 14. What's that, back-to-back, no break? How does that work? Overnight, so you do
overnight, and then in the day you're off. So, so you'd either, I can't remember what the hours were, but, you know.
Isn't that strange that you are medical professionals and the shifts are nowhere near healthy for you?
Yeah, I know.
Let's look after our health
don't
by
get
putting
me
the
started.
people
And then you're in a hospital with no food and no, like, you know, you can't go to the toilet. Like, I mean, in the UK it was hideous. Like, I was actually on what's called a 1 in 2.5, which means you start on Monday morning and, you know, which one was it? I think it was... Monday you always did the night as well. So you start in the morning, you do the overnight, you couldn't go home till the end of Tuesday.
That's
and then
horrendous.
Again on Thursday. So 2 nights of the week.
Just surrounded by
and then the weekend
sickness
we
and
had this
unnatural light.
Yeah, that's right. And then, you know, like there's never any definite downtime. Like you kind of make it to the canteen and think, I'm winning. Like, you know, you get there and you buy your food and then your page goes off and you're taken off to some
it's almost
cardiac arrest or something.
moral and emotional blackmail as well, because like you're there to help people and you'd feel bad taking time off for yourself.
Absolutely. Like it's all lined up. It's totally, it's dehumanizing actually. That's what it is. It's really.
And I actually know a fair few nurses, and they've all quit.
Well, they've got shifts, so it's a different thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, with nursing, you do supposedly get your breaks and all of that sort of stuff. But again,
and that's what I mean. They all quit, like guys and girls. I knew fair few, and they just said, no, it's like they're taking the piss.
Shit, yeah.
It's like,
shit. And how bad is the pay? And nobody's like, you know, even through this whole pandemic, like,
one of
it's
my
not like,
mates just
here's a bonus for all the nurses. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, one of my mates got qualified as a nurse and went, nah, fuck this, I'm working at Bunnings. No shit.
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
I'd rather work at Bunnings.
And the pay would be kind of
better. It got better.
That's a sad state of affairs. Is there any... So I'm not asking the
You're
hard
looking for glimmers. You're looking for glimmers now, aren't you?
Is there any solutions? Like, is there...
we got to get out of this system. We got to create a new system. Like, I'm much more invested in creating a new system because I didn't just do medicine. Like, I then went and did functional medicine, nutritional and environmental medicine, and looking at DNA and the gut microbiome and all the links between all of those things.
Wow.
And
because it's not
Ayurvedic medicine, like traditional kind of healthcare systems, which is like, and a lot of that is much more interesting, much more rewarding, and you're actually returning people back to well-being. Whereas, as you know, the big pharmaceutical cabal of medicine system is all about, here's your checklist, here's your diagnosis, here's a drug for that. Go away, and I'll see you every 3 months and renew your script. It's kind of like, so when do I get better exactly?
Yes,
like,
you're just masking the problem.
When did you start doing that? Because that sounds a little bit like, sounds like it's starting
Turning point.
But if you were doing that before,
I've been so again, you know, shouting in the wilderness 25 years ago, really.
Well, you're only 30. How does that work?
Well, I know, that's reversing aging medicine. You know, like that's the next big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So what was the big thing for you? Did you choose to go into that, or did it interest you, or were you like, oh, this seems pretty cool? Because that's really interesting.
I think for a long time, you know, it's that sense, it's that inner sense of there's something missing, there's something not quite right with this. Like, and I had a particular job that was in somebody else's practice, and all of these people came in on this particular, they all ended up with the same kind of list of drugs. Like, you know, there'd be a cholesterol one, an anxiety one, and a, you know, thyroid one, and like, you know, it'd be like, oh, okay, I wonder if those things are linked, you know, because I'm the kind of person that thinks outside the box. I'm a problem solver. I'm a kind of like joiner upper of different threads of information. That's kind of, you know, so when, like, you know, I've just got endless curiosity and just trying to think about things. But then I was invited to be in a group where we were learning Ayurvedic medicine, and so some friends of mine had organised Dr. Rajan Kupan to come over from South Africa, and he was teaching us Ayurvedic medicine.
What's Ayurvedic, mate?
Yeah, so that's a very traditional source of medicine that goes back at least 4,000 years. I don't even know if time frames
like
are
a holistic style?
It's a holistic. So it's a very, you know, it's barefoot medicine, ground up kind of stuff that, you know, includes just learning about yourself. Like, what's your body type? You know, what's going to be the things that might trip you up? How do you balance that? How do you get yourself back into balance? So, and, you know, a lot of kitchen remedies, a lot of detoxing, which is a dirty word. You can't even say detox in, like, pharmaceutical medicine because
it's all toxins.
Because like, oh, there's no toxins. You've got a liver and kidneys for that, you know. Yeah. So it's like, well, actually, you know, every now and then it's a good idea to do a bit of a detox of some description.
And is Ayurvedic spelled A-Y-A?
A-Y-U-R, Ayurvedic. So it's the study of life, the study of longevity, actually. Well, and so there's a lot of, you know, different procedures, different ways of doing things. It involves a lot of treatments, massages, those kinds of things.
I'm already into this.
Yeah. Well, we want to take a crew. Like, we should take a crew and go to Kerala, South India, and have a retreat.
That'd be pretty cool.
Well,
That's what I like to
I'm
do.
definitely interested in this, so maybe we'll avoid the deregistration and stuff. And
I didn't get to that.
No, we'll
point,
keep
did I?
to this,
Yeah.
and then we can move to that.
We'll
Yeah,
get back to it. Yeah, because this is super interesting.
I always
100%.
go in different.
No,
That's how we do it. We'll come back. We'll circle back.
So we've all got ADHD.
Yes,
in this
yes.
room. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yep.
So
Right.
the Ayurvedic.
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 Yeah. So it started with Ayurvedic medicine, and then I guess I got into nutritional and environmental medicine, and then I did my fellowship of ACNEM, which is the Australian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine that Ian Brighthope started actually in Melbourne, and then I just kept learning about minerals and vitamins and herbs and all the things that actually help.
Yeah.
The things that help. And also, also in a food way. So do you know, like, old wives' tales?
Perfect.
Yes.
I was going to say fake news.
Yes.
Top 3
fake
myths.
news.
Yeah.
Mad. Misinformation, disinformation.
Yeah.
That's not real.
Yes.
So much of that, like, that's all been pushed away, and that's, all of those kinds of things are all ways that obviously, women, witches, people who've been persecuted have, because women would be observing, they'd be watching, they'd be looking at, watching the kids. Oh, that's a bit out of balance. This is going on. What can we do about that? And so the really ancient medicine and the stuff that gets passed down from one generation to another, all of that.
Just the hard thing about even speaking about it is immediately we've been trained to go, oh, that's woo-woo.
Yes,
you get tired with this brush.
Yeah. You've been trained.
What are you talking about?
You've been trained.
Yeah.
That's all very deliberate.
Yeah.
And, like the government taking naturopaths out of, HPF and all of those things, all of that kind of stuff. And they're coming for the herbs and nutrients and stuff like that. They've tried to put more regulation around all of those kinds of things.
Through naturally occurring
anything naturally occurring stuff.
My pathway into this sort of world was through diet and realising that I had some issues, kidney stones, at a very young age caused by...
Yeah. My mum had those,
generally an older person disease or people who have some very big problems. And mine happened to be anti-inflammatories, and the doctors tried to prescribe me more drugs to get rid of the kidney stones. And I was like, well, look, I don't know if I want to have another drug to solve a problem that was caused by a drug that's going to have these sorts of after effects as well. So I ended up looking into the natural remedies, and one of them was, I think it was lemon water, and there's a few different things. And so I just drank lemon water every morning. Every morning
Lots
for
of fluids.
a year or 2 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then I went back to get some checkups to see how they're going because I hadn't passed it. And he was like, they're gone. What have you done? And I said, the lemon water. And he's like, no, it must have been something else.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm telling you, I had lemon tea and it's gone.
And then,
He's like,
they won't. Yeah.
He wouldn't acknowledge it. He just said, look, sometimes people it just disappears. Who knows?
Yeah.
And I was like,
spontaneous
mate, I'm telling
remissions
you,
in cancers. Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I had lemon tea for 2 years every morning to get rid of it because. Even in my head, that makes sense. Like something acidic, I guess, breaking it down. But
Yeah, well,
and
actually,
that was my
lemon,
pathway.
it kind of acidifies your stomach, and so the output, like, to your tissues is alkalized. So it kind of alkalizes you.
Okay.
So
it made sense that if I could heal myself with food, that you can do it with a lot of things.
Yeah,
I still understand there's room for medicine and medications. I think they're still important in certain areas, but the just over prescription of drugs. And then the prescription of
other drugs to treat the
side effects. Like the whole antidepressant one is shocking to me. The fact that people get prescribed antidepressants instead of solving the root cause of their depression. And then as a result of that antidepressant, they'll get psychotic breakouts. So then they get prescribed an antipsychotic, which one of the side effects of the antipsychotic is suicidal thoughts. What fucking loop are we living in?
Yeah, well, now you've got the Canada loop where suicidal people are offered to delete themselves off the planet as well. So, like, you've got that.
Like that's
the full cycle.
Is that the euthanasia?
Yeah, the euthanasia. Oh, look, like you'd feel a bit worthless. Here you go, have some euthanasia instead. And then numbers, like fuck, yeah, totally.
So why? What? And we're getting deep
That's
here,
probably,
I guess.
yeah,
but
this
what
is
do you
probably-
think? Why is
Don't
there
want
a
to make this
push?
too depressing, the whole thing. But,
Why is there
it is
a push against addressing the root
natural.
cause of anything?
Because
whether it's your
the
mental health or
pharmaceutical
physical?
industry is the biggest industry, like one of the biggest industries. I'm not a numbers, like I don't know, but like the pharmaceutical industry is absolutely massive.
Going to make money.
As you know, and like whatever's happened here, and now we know about the DNA contamination causing cancers. Of course, they've all brought in like all of these cancer treatments, haven't they? So they've bought into all of the treatments for the cancers that have been caused by the jabs. And even like, I mean, it absolutely sickened me to see on the front of the West, like the worst Australian
it is
newspaper that we have here. When the McGowan government announced that they were starting a cancer treatment, like they were starting, like, look at us, we're building a cancer hospital for kids down in the southwest, and I'm like I haven't used the vomiting emoji as much as I have in the last 3 years. It's just
and we're seeing this play out in live action right now.
Live action. It's like being forced to watch a train wreck that you warned everybody about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of like, there's a train wreck coming. There's a train wreck coming. There's a train wreck coming.
It's like Final Destination.
But the hilarious thing I'm
it.
seeing at the moment is not here, but in the US, the politics over there. So, you know, RFK has promised to, look into the additives within certain foods, using the cereal as an example. And now, before he comes in, the Biden administration has started to ban the certain additives within the cereals and stuff. While just, it was us who did that, not RFK.
Oh, okay.
So you could, what are you doing?
At least that's a fun, like, at least
I'm glad, but
that's like one positive thing that they've finally done, I suppose. But the thing is like, well, you could have done that any old time.
It was the red dye, I think, but they were calling
that one. Yeah.
Of course, they want to get rid of red.
Leave the blue dye in,
blue
like
stuff.
the real nasty stuff. Yeah. Cancer causing.
What kind of things did you see early days with the Ayurvedic? Was there any like really shocking or like surprising cases where people would come to you presenting one thing and it was just cured with some of the remedies that you found? Because that's, I know we're going to look back, but it's so interesting.
It's more about balancing the body. So, like, that whole know thyself kind of stuff is really important. And,
Heal thyself,
and the
thy
more
doctor.
detail that you can get on that is like, your susceptibilities, which, so depending on where you are in terms of what your body type is, we could know if methylation is more of a problem, oxidative stress is more of a problem, or detox pathways are more of a problem. Yep. So, you can kind of, just by looking at people, it's that kind of stuff where you can get more information and then you can target things more accurately.
What kind of body types are there when you say that?
Well, I mean, there's also, there's Vata, Pitta, Kapha are the, so it's all in Sanskrit, so the language is Sanskrit. So there's the three main elements, Vata, Pitta and Kapha, are three types, but then you get mixtures of all of those. Right. So Vata, as an example, would be like your thin stick ballet dancer type. Pitta tend to be more fiery kind of people, I suppose, and sort of mesomorphic, so sort of medium size, and sometimes more shorter people. And then the Kapha types are the bigger bodies, which, they've got, their immune systems are often fantastic. They've often got like really generous, kind-hearted and big voice, like beautiful voices. So you're thinking like your big male opera singers and that kind of, So like that's just broadly to get a picture in your
Tony Robbins,
in your
or
head
is that
about
acromegaly?
I've often wondered about acromegaly there, but I'm not his physician, obviously.
Cool. So there's different treatments to.
So if you know your body type, then it's about what do you best feed yourself with. So it's like having different vehicles, isn't it? It's like you're not going to put the different fuel, whether you've got a Mack truck or Ferrari. Do you know what I mean?
It's almost like giving everyone on the planet a medicine that's that is not necessarily for them is going to have
one size fits all.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Not going to have a great effect on everyone.
Yeah, there's never been one. Like, I don't think there's anything really that's one size fits all.
Maybe physical exercise.
Yeah, but again, different physical
Different kinds.
exercises.
Yeah.
So some people, you know, like for me, like sort of short sprints and then resting. But, you know, you found that you can do quite long distances, that kind of stuff. Other people, like, they really need to just do some really slow, heavy weights, and that's fantastic for them, and that builds muscle and so forth. But, you know, so, and also it's a time of day thing with what, you know, what exercise you do and when. So for some of the endomorphs, the bigger bodies, like getting up at 4:30 in the morning and forcing themselves to go to a gym where they're running on a treadmill is absolutely the wrong thing. It'll inflame them.
I feel that. Anything too early?
Nobody wants to do that. Yeah.
I like getting up early, but trying to work out
structuring your day.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's other things, you know, I mean, it's just beautiful to greet the dawn anyway. And we need all of that light, don't we? So, I mean, I'm sure you'd be across some of that if you're delving into health stuff, how important light is. And that sort of full spectrum stuff. But, you know, it may not be that you need to be vigorously exercising, but you might just sort of gently do some stretching and, you know, wake your body up that way.
Well, does this lean into the idea of foot reflexology, which me and Delby were talking about before? Like, I had a fucked shoulder the other week. Like, so fucked. I could barely lift it. I'd been a bit lazy with a few exercises. And then I was just rolling my foot on one of the balls, the roller balls there, and after 5 minutes, my shoulder was completely free. And I was like, oh, what are the chances of that? And then looked up the foot reflexology pattern on there, and I had a sore sort of upper back sort of area. And I was like, oh, I'll give that a roll on that sort of spot. And again, free. And I was like,
amazing.
Either this is the greatest placebo ever or it's real. So
well, it's N=1, hey? It's like, you know, and N=1 is where we start with science, isn't it? I mean, we've kind of forgotten science in the last few years, but it's kind of like, you know, you start with N=1 and kind of, oh, that's curious, that's interesting. Where can I find out more about that? And I think, you know, I think recently we're learning a lot more about fascia, and fascia is where stresses are stored. And actually, there's more emphasis. Well, there are people who are now looking at like human garage. Have you?
I haven't seen that.
No. You haven't come across. Oh, you got to. Yeah, you got to get into that. So it's really releasing fascia, and so that the muscles can function again properly. And a lot of trauma is actually stuck.
Heard of these. Yeah.
So back to Ayurvedic medicine, like a lot of their treatments are massage and oleation, oiling. So a lot of beautiful massage treatments. And that actually can allow that fascia to release. And with it, the memory of that event or trauma. And it's a way to release stuff where you don't have to like bang on about it to a therapist for like 6 months or something. Do you know what I mean? Because nobody needs that. That just reinforces it. That just reinforces the trauma, and talking
Delby's,
about it.
Wolfies.
That's the Andrew Wolf theory. He's time heals all wounds, but none of you pick at the scabs. So why would you keep talking about your thing? He's like, just put it behind you.
So there's other ways of doing that. Like, you know, there's all the things like essential oils and aromatherapy and different things like that. But, you know, if the trauma is in the fascial planes, like, you know, what's it called? The body keeps the score stuff.
Yeah, I see.
So like using the back to your feet and your shoulders and stuff, like all of those linkages between all the fascia, you know, they're obviously joined all over the body because like that's how you're structured. And then releasing it through the feet, you can.
I guess instantly I thought, this is great to release. Now I feel good, but I need to still address the root cause. Like if it's bad posture, am I holding myself wrong? Am I doing weights incorrectly? There's something causing the issue. But then I guess maybe
you need to have some work done on the fascia there as
correct.
well. You know, because it's all about flow. And I mean, you know, when you look at traditional Chinese medicine, like the acupuncture and those kinds of things, it's all about flow of energy, or you know, however you want to understand all of those things. But you know, ultimately, blockages to flow, fascia, you know, we can do a lot by unraveling all of that with all the sort of stretching and clearing those.
So for people that
old
don't actually know
memories and
what
stuff.
fascia is, it's like the connective tissue between your muscle and your...
It's like the lining around an organ or muscle or whatever. So it's kind of like, if you imagine like wrapping a piece of chicken in Glad wrap or something, it's kind of like that coating kind of a thing. Or, when if you have meat, you can those bits of white stuff that...
So if you can sort of crease that out to make it optimal.
Yeah, straighten it out again. Yeah, and some people are better than others with their hands in terms of massage therapy and those kinds of things. And but also, if you learn, the human garage type stuff, like you learn the stretches yourself. So, there are classes happening in WA now that you can do that. So that's good.
And when you feel loose and limber, everything feels good.
Yeah.
Because when you're
it's good.
When you're
your blood flow's going everywhere. But it's also that whole fight or flight versus rest and digest, right? Because like when you're faced with something, you tense up, and the tenser you are, and the more often, and all of this fear stuff that we've been thrown into in the last few years, it's made everybody more tense, and we all need to, get out, relax, get some good music, good vibes, and movement to unravel all of that.
It's interesting hearing a doctor, ex.
I'm like a real doctor.
Are you
I am a doctor.
Yeah.
I am a doctor. Yeah, I'm just one of the better ones.
Just somebody open to more than just what you're taught. That's my biggest fear of going to any, not fear.
I know, everybody's really apprehensive now.
Going to a doctor, I've always thought, unless they can, I feel like they just stick to what they've learnt at uni and then that's it.
Well, that's the thing, because you have to go outside the system. This is where everything is so systematized to keep you in your lane and not to learn that stuff. And there's so many levels to that because, of course, all the journals that are captured by the pharmaceutical industry are paid by the pharmaceutical industry. And everything. Yeah. And so the studies that get in there are paid for by the pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
And, like to be able to prove that, say, a spiky ball that you roll your foot over actually works on your shoulder is like, well, who's going to pay for that?
Exactly.
So you can't actually get studies, and then you can't do double-blind crossover placebo-controlled thing on that. Yeah. So
because it's tainted from the very start as well.
Yeah. So
why wouldn't they consider that like tangible proof and evidence? Oh, I've done that. It doesn't.
No well, like I say, that's N equals 1. It's like, when I was sitting in practice, I'd be like, oh, that's curious. That's interesting. I wonder if that works on other people. And then, I would learn so much from people coming to see me, and people would bring me books, and they'd sort of go, oh, what about this? And,
So a healthy curiosity.
Well,
remember that. It's kind of like healthy debate, respect, all of those kinds of things,
I guess for a personal anecdote, I've had 4 back operations, like 2 disc blocks, 2 discectomies and something else from a herniated disc. If I had have stuck to one sort of frame of thinking, I would never have been at the point that I'm at today. So I went and saw as many different experts as you could throw a book at, tried to see them all differently and found a little bit of something new from everyone. And I just found that someone I saw loosened my... psoas muscle, and it made the biggest difference.
Psoas is huge. Psoas is to do with the fear and the sympathetic.
If I had just had someone in the very first,
in the beginning,
just loosen that up.
But once you're in the system, like you're stuck in the system, like you're batting around in the system. So it's kind of like this, this trap where you go see your GP and they'll send you to, this specialist and that specialist, and they send you to another specialist, and you're just batting around.
Yeah.
Is that mess intentional?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think the more I think about it, I think a lot of it's intentional. But, there's loads of pressures on doctors other than that. Like, because you have to keep up your medical education, say. So, the cheapest or freest way of doing that is pharmaceutical industry events that you go and get educated at, and you get CME points for that. So it's like, okay, I'll go, I'll finish work, I'll have a dinner of some description, and they'll teach me some stuff about something. And before you could pick and choose what things, so you might find some interesting things. But personally, like, I went out of my way to do my ACNEM fellowship. I paid for that. I paid in my time. I paid in my capacity. I had to go to Melbourne. Like, it's thousands and thousands of dollars that I've spent on what's in here now. And it's taken a long time. And that's applying myself because I knew that was the right thing to do for me, but the people that benefit are actually my patients.
Yeah, I think it comes down to motivation. If you're motivated by money and having to pay your mortgage and that you choose to be a doctor, like you were saying when you were younger, you didn't know what you wanted to do. And then, you've applied for this job and found this pathway. It's like when we did TE, you're expected to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. But if you're motivated just by, oh, fuck, I've got good grades, I'll be a doctor, that'll pay the bills, then of course you're not going to look outside of what you're doing in that industry.
If the system works, until you spot the fractures, until you kind of choose to be like, oh, that's interesting, maybe I should follow that up. And the really good thing about the last few years is there's now a lot more doctors that are looking at nutritional and environmental and functional medicine or root cause medicine, which, in some of the chat groups that I'm in, people are much more interested. Like, I feel like I've been screaming about it for 25 years. Yeah. And now suddenly there's interest, and it's just like, oh, God, I'm so exhausted. But, at least people are catching on. Yeah. Right? And
addressing
I
the
think
root
the
cause
public
is probably, surely that was the first point of call.
Yeah, I know. But that's not, I think when you're outside of a system, you don't realise, whether it's medicine or law, right? Yeah. When I had to go into, situations with the legal system, you don't know how crap that is either until you're stuck in it. Like one of my daughters, under the care of their dad, nearly drowned. Had to be fully resuscitated, and that was on a weekend, obviously, where the kids were with their dad, and I think probably understandably, I didn't really want them to be unsupervised with their dad after that, because he wasn't watching them on the river, and so we nearly lost her, but like the legal system didn't even tell him to learn CPR. They just went, oh well, kids got to know their dad, back to normal. Fuck you, basically. It's just like, you can't have more care of your children, or and absolutely nothing was done. Yeah, same with my mum trying to get a restraining order. It took somebody else who just happened to be. It's a really spooky story. I'll do another time, but like somebody else was there and actually did the full resuscitation. She was like about 2 years old, and she was blue, like she needed full resuscitation. Wow. But they didn't even tell the dad to go and do a CPR course. Just some common sense. Yeah, I would have thought that was common sense. But, common sense isn't part of systems, I think. And it's the systems that are entrenched that are keeping things bad without people, thinking about it. Yeah. And I think if you don't keep thinking about what's going on, you don't really find the stuff that needs to change. Yeah. But, my brain is more wired for that, and other people's aren't. And I think, if you're just entrenched in a system and you just keep doing, and everything's working for you, then why would you bother to use more brain power? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If it's not broke, you don't fix it. Yeah, exactly.
Well, this is where that discourse comes in, I guess, like having a variety of opinions and trying to talk through things and go, well, this is working for me. Maybe you can look at it this way. And with the medical censorship that we've seen, it seems like those sorts of conversations have been shut down. Yeah, that's the weird thing.
Well, because like a number of years ago when I was like, when the whole gut microbiome stuff, because through doing nutritional and environmental medicine and seeing the effect of, food and herbs and everything on people. And then, this whole thing about the gut microbiome and how that's linked, gut-brain links and, health links with gut biome. So, we started adjusting biomes because, like science takes about, like a new piece of science takes about 20 years, or used to take about 20 years to actually get into practice. So there's this massive great gap where the evidence is there, like we know things, but they don't get into common practice, I would say, in medicine. So, we had people with, various issues and by adjusting the gut microbiome, you could make things a lot better.
And how can we adjust the microbiome?
Is it horses for courses, or is there a general way to help? Yeah.
Well, the fastest things to do is basically the things that are very obvious that you already know, which is to eat fresh food that's as close to organic, unsprayed, and all the rest of it. I mean, obviously it's getting harder and harder to do that, and let's not stray into the whole Beauvais kind of territory.
I've seen that recently.
You know, like we're animals on the planet. We need to eat the stuff that actually works for us. Yeah. And, you know, like with body types, of course, different horses for courses, like you're saying. Like different people need different
Especially
foods.
the French, they'll have horses for main horses.
With garlic.
With garlic,
yeah. With lots of garlic, yeah. But, yeah, like adjusting, making sure that you're getting the adequate amounts of fibre, and fibre is really important. I know a lot of people have done carnivore, and that's kind of been anti-inflammatory, and inflammation is one of the major ways that we get disease. So there's lots of different threads, I guess, to think about there. But really, when you see the supermarkets and what people could buy and put in their trolley in there, and instead you go to the farmer's market and you get fresh stuff that has been grown properly, you know, and you know the biome of the soil is really important. Regenerative agriculture is where we need to be.
From what I hear, our soils are losing the nutrients by every time it's ploughed. Like we're just losing so much out of the soil. There's no thought for our futures.
So regen ag is like, I'm involved in a regen ag sort of farm because we recognise that food security is really, really important, and making sure that we get the most healthiest thing for healthy future generations. If that's
I was talking to a mate who owns a farm, and I was asking why these areas of his farm weren't being used, and he said because every, I think, third or fourth year. We even learnt this at school when I was in primary school. Like you have your four fields, and you know, you have your fallow. You rotate them.
You rotate them and you fallow them, and you know, you have the animals on and they poo and they kind of plough it up a bit, and that's good, and then they move on to the next field, and you know, and you just do that.
Regenerative farming.
Yeah, and it's like, duh. Yeah. But, you know,
so the soil gets a rest for a season, and it can regenerate. It's got all the nutrients from the cow.
You get the clover and the things that put the nitrogen back in, and you might, you know, and I mean...
And they still do that on their farm.
Fantastic.
And I'm sure there's other farms around that do that, but this factory farming bullshit is just
it's been a major disaster,
everything.
Hasn't it? And I mean, you know, like the glyphosate in this country, I mean, you know, like that. Well, that's one of the major things. If you wanted one thing to not do to your gut microbiome, is absolutely avoid glyphosate. And of course, it's in
what's it in? Everything.
Wheat and all of that. Like it's worst in wheat, I would say. So like those grains. So I mean, I've got a lot of people a lot better by just getting them off, you know, bread, gluten, all of that sort of stuff.
So it's not necessarily gluten, it's the
glyphosate that goes with it,
Right. Wow.
So, you know, but, you know, like they've added more and more. So they burn down and add it just before harvest, and then it's all stored there with all of this glyphosate on it. And it's just
why? Like, is glyphosate, is there a benefit, or do they just get a bigger yield, or does it kill pests, or what's the original school of thought for using it?
I think it's supposedly like it's about optimizing the harvest, but ultimately, you know, it's the big agri-chem industry, poison industry that, you know, it's, I mean, it depends at what point in time you think it might be better, because what if you did get slightly more harvest, but then you've ruined your land, so... like it's just
cost benefit analysis.
It's like the cattle, like the McDonald's cattle and the food lots. You know, like you're feeding the wrong thing to the cattle, and then ruining the areas where the food, like, you know, you've probably seen pictures of that.
Oh, actually, and I'm thinking about getting on. So one of my best mates, like I said, he's sheep and wheat farmer, and there's a lot going on with the farming industry at the moment that I think needs to be talked about. He's not willing.
Get an expert on that.
He's like, I'm well versed to a point, but he'll get someone. He'll direct me to someone who can really talk.
But even hearing firsthand from someone's experience of what they're actually going through, it creates, there's no disconnect anymore between an expert and your regular person. If you hear someone that's in the thick of it,
Yeah.
then at least you're getting a first-hand experience.
Yeah, no, we'll still
You
get
know?
someone who knows what they're talking
Yeah.
about. Though. He doesn't
Yeah.
know any of the technicalities. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's he's.
Yeah.
I'm interested the glyphosate, what he's using out there, and
Is that
how much it affects profit by not.
Is that why they say the
It
Italian?
ties you into the system, so it ties you into like buying the seed and buying the glyphosate. Like it's multiple levels of
and they've got the patent on the seed.
the patents and all. Yeah,
And they're
all
pushing
that
because they're
stuff.
pushing. It's getting pushed further and further into factory farms, which is largely big business run, and it's killing the
Squeezing
local farmers.
Yeah, that's right.
Who rely on like live export trade and
Yeah.
stuff as well. So they're doing all these things that they seem to be putting in place under the guise of a good idea. How many times we heard of that? Is actually hurting the local farmers who will do the extra yards.
The people
to
that
have
properly
a quality
do the
product.
regen ag, So
Yeah.
we've got to maintain those links and keep that going. I mean, like we're seeing that globally, aren't we? We saw it with the Dutch farmers. We saw it in all the other countries where the farmers kind of stopped traffic to and bring-
Germany as well.
But I guess that's not. I think we're going off on a tangent because that's not my area of expertise.
Yeah.
Although I'm very concerned about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that why the Italian pasta is meant to be better than here because they don't add the glyphosate?
Yeah, they've got different regulations.
Right.
So, I've had patients who, we stopped, by stopping bread and wheat and gluten and stuff like that here in this country, they get better, but then they can tolerate like the odd croissant and the odd pasta dish.
Yeah.
Over it.
I can more than tolerate them.
But there's your perfect example because it is different there.
It is different. It's definitely different. And I think the French, wouldn't tolerate as much.
You don't even
messing
you
with
don't
their
bloat.
food
You don't
chain.
put on as much weight.
But
everything.
like the cheeses there, like they make raw, like they make their cheeses with raw, raw milk, and it's like not pasteurized, not obliterated in those ways. And what was really interesting with the work on the gut microbiome is that some of the really beneficial bacteria that you can have as probiotics. Naturally are on some of the French cheeses and the Italian, like the dried meats and stuff like that. So so I think
that's good.
I think it was Helveticus that was in some of the Italian meats. That's
Right.
So the Europeans,
I'm
they
cool
eat
for that.
so differently to us. Even like their breakfasts. I remember going and staying over with a friend over there in Germany, and she and her mum put together this breakfast for us, and it was very different to me. I was like, there's
What did they
cheeses
have?
and meats.
and cheeses and meats.
Cheeses and meats and olives and things like that. And
tomatoes.
To us, it's foreign. You're like, well, I'll
what are
make
you
an
doing
eggs
with
or
that?
something.
We got this box of crap that gums
Exactly.
up your insides.
And then you go, well, a lot of Eastern Europe, they're pretty
slim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
Except
maybe
for
they're
the-
onto something.
Except for the nonnas and non-nos.
It catches up eventually.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky. Before everything took off, I actually had a wonderful holiday in the Nordic countries. And of course, the original kind of smorgasbord type breakfast, like they had everything.
Yeah.
And like they even had bottles of cod liver oil and,
Wow.
little bits of, like the fish and all of that kind of stuff and mushrooms and black garlic, which is like aged garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't feel so guilty now. When I was in
oh my
Milan, I
God.
had 6 croissants for breakfast, so I'm just doing
Well,
my gut microbiome.
Yeah, when in Rome, you
Yeah.
know, you gotta eat the things.
Delby's
hard
done
to
this before.
avoid.
Delby's done this before, and I've done it a fair bit consistently. Delby's done a big long one, but fasting. What role
Yeah,
does
I've
that
heard
play
there's
with the
mixed.
It's
there's mixed-
fascinating, but
mixed reports now.
definitely some of the big names that have all been kind of deleted from the medical industry are talking a lot more about fasting. So there's different types and there's different lengths and all of that sort of stuff. I think for any average person, stopping at dinner time and not snacking in the evening, like that's probably my number one thing would be, because if you've got a 3-hour break between eating and sleeping. So say you've finished eating by 7 and, I'm older than you guys. I go to bed at 10:30.
That's
but,
later than me, so I'm in bed by 9:30, so well done.
Yeah, when you got kids.
Yeah.
You really, So, that 3-hour gap, that allows the cleaning systems of the brain to kick in. So then you've got... clearing any rubbish and optimizing brain function overnight. And also you don't get as disturbed as sleep because you're not still digesting, and it allows all the detoxing mechanisms to go. So it's almost like your body goes through various cleansing mechanisms overnight, and in Ayurveda there's different times for different things, and in traditional Chinese medicine as well. So, your liver would kick in at a certain point, like you'd sort of get gut regeneration, liver regeneration, detoxification, and, kidney and so forth. So, if you want to gum that up badly, then keep eating and snacking right into the into the evening. And,
Sweets
eat your like half kilo of ice cream.
I definitely noticed. I used to intermittent fast every day. Eat at 6, and I wouldn't eat till 10. That's 16 hours every single day.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. I mean, I think it's something that everybody needs to try and see what their body works best with.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on your body type. So a lot of the bigger body types are much faster to kick into ketogenesis. And that's fantastic for them, and they often feel really good on that. So, when you get into ketogenic, it is anti-inflammatory, and it allows that cleaning up. And this is really important for all of the cancers that are now happening. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a simple thing. It's not necessarily easy because it's simple, but it's a simple thing that many people can do by just stopping, nothing to eat after 8, say.
It takes a lot of...
And then, like eat when you're hungry in the morning. But, because of the busy lives and, going to work, it's more... People are eating for opportunity, so it's like I'm at home, I'm going to eat stuff because I've got to go to work, and so. But
it's
even
funny.
if you just put your stuff in a container and then eat it when you get to work, you've expanded that time restricted
That's
eating.
a good little hint. I was speaking to Chelsea, and I was like, I eat because I found I'm eating for joy of eating. Not for...
Which is great.
It is good, but not for nutrients.
So,
she's like, you've got to stop eating at night time just for joy to appease yourself, which is the hard part, because resilience is difficult these days. In an instant gratification, you're like, I could go for a sweet, bang, Uber Eats, your Magnum ice cream's there straight away. You're smashing that down. It just takes a little bit of self-control, which is the hardest thing, I think. If you could teach self-control, then...
But I think meditation's really good for that. Yeah. So discipline, has gone a bit out the window, but I think that... the more settled people are in themselves, the more they can balance their sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, their fight and flight versus rest and digest. The more balanced you are, the more you, you kind of have time to reflect each day. That's and those kinds of things. Yeah. It's like those little subtle things that you can keep stepping forward and doing better every day with that. And it's kind of like, well, I wanted this, but I did that. Like, this is going to lead to well-being. This is going to lead to, more fat on the thighs or whatever it is.
Yeah. And the awareness of it, the more times you reinforce it, becomes a habit.
And even 2 minutes of meditation or just taking those little times through the day is hugely beneficial for everybody, I think. I mean, if you can do a longer one, then great. But to at least do it for 2 minutes as opposed to, oh no, I haven't got time for that. It's like, okay, have you got a minute then? Can you do 30 seconds and just breathe 3 times?
The excuses that people say about that is bullshit, because all of them, every fucking one of them scroll on their phone.
If you've got time to order the Uber Eats, you've got time.
100%.
But my problem is, like, I'll try to meditate and not think about it, but by going, okay, you don't want that ice cream because it's going to be that.
Oh, no. Don't think about the pink elephant in the corner of the room.
Then I'm like, fuck, I really want that ice cream. So I've just meditated myself into,
you set yourself up rather badly there.
I try to stop and think about how I don't want it, and then that just makes me want it more. So
you've got to visualize. You got to Joe Dispenza yourself, and you've got to kind of like visualize, this is what I'm aiming for. And like, that's a really good way to set up your day, is kind of like, I'm going to, today is a day of joy and ease, and you kind of approach it and you just visualize that, and everything's going to segue in perfect timing with each other, and I'm going to meet the right people, and I'm going to get quantum entangled with all the things that are going to bring, joy, abundance, whatever it's called, a girlfriend or whatever it is.
I mean, I've been manifesting the right M word for a girlfriend for a long, long time. But that's not true. I've actually been manifesting myself. I haven't been trying to attract somebody else. I've been too focused on my own.
Yeah, optimizing you is obviously, because like the more that we optimize ourselves, we're creating the better energetic blueprint and the better, how we have an energetic field around us, and the more you can create that. Yeah. And
I've been quite selfish when I reflect on it, but I like that advice. If you could just make it that extra 20 minutes without ordering, normally the itch will go away. The only strategy I've had is drinking a lot of water to feel fuller. So
does it work? Did it work?
Yeah.
Oh, do you know what?
So is it about feeling full, or is it about? Sorry, I'm not meant to be therapizing.
No. Yeah, because I try to feel full, so then
what's
I don't.
really underneath it? That's the question, really, isn't it? Is it
boredom?
Is it that I haven't had the sweetness? Have I not had the joy? Have I not had how am I going to get that? Can I connect with somebody?
Kick.
Can I have can I have a lovely conversation with somebody I want to talk to?
Yeah.
Or is there someone I can hug? Is there what sweetness is missing?
Yeah.
That kind of
replacing
thing.
it with Yeah, make a good point.
And
if you're listening and you get a call from me at about 9 o'clock,
is it 9 o'clock?
About 9 is the sweet spot, literally.
Magnum time.
And
you might have 10 women all coming around bringing magnums to you or something like that.
And you said
that's manifestation.
Magnum the ice cream, not Magnum the brand of.
And you were talking earlier about meditating whilst you're struggling, but I think the idea is to meditate. Well, you can
beforehand,
but meditate as a practice. So then you're used to being a bit more disciplined and recognizing what's going on in your brain. But that awareness is always important. But there's moments where you're like, and I'm the same. I'll be very disciplined, and then there'll be one night where I'm not doing it. That's completely fine. But when I really do,
it's choice and consequence, then, isn't it?
Correct,
so it's different from just reacting. It's responding, and it's choice and consequences. Like, oh fuck it, I'm going to have this, and I'm going to really enjoy it.
You can have, you can also make healthy choices that satisfy some of them. So, for example, if I was doing a carnivore one, if I had the bone broth, that would satisfy all of them.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
I was like, how is this satisfied that sweet craving that I was having?
Because meat is technically in Ayurvedic, flesh is actually sweet.
Really?
As an actual... Yeah, so
Hannibal Lecter's onto something.
There you go. I didn't say human. Cannibal or carnivore?
Carnivore. Sorry, my bad. So an Ayurvedic.
Yeah. So every food has its signature of is it sweet, sour, salty, a bit of pungent, astringent kind of a thing. So they've all got different signatures like that, and so it may well be, but also it could be a couple of dates that you want to, a couple of dates to eat, or a couple of squares of really, really good quality dark chocolate.
I've heard is back in vogue, and it's actually pretty good for you.
Yeah,
especially if you make it yourself. Make your own raw.
So we're going down the path of trying to do the old ease symptoms / reverse chronic illness, or I don't know what you'd call it, with my daughter's autism, and seeing if diet's going to have an effect on that. I just went and spoke to Dr. Anthony Chafee about a few things, and he's basically recommended, very broadly speaking, ketogenic diet, and he's had great success and seen great success with someone recently he was talking about went from non-verbal to full functional sentences, and then goes back to Nana and Granddad, gives them the candy, non-verbal 3 or 4 days.
So it's real food versus not real food as well. So, I mean, I know there's a whole load of stuff about carnivore and all of that, and great if it works for you, but also, if you get really good quality meat and it's got all the nutrients and it's regen ag and it's, like all of that stuff, that is a far cry from... Fruit Loops and Wheat Bix over here. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And two of the key foods that are very problematic for on the autism side of things is gluten and dairy. And there's because bread also has had a whole load of synthetic folate added to it, so all the foods that have got synthetic folate in, you probably want to be avoiding in that circumstance, because they can have anti-folate antibodies, I think, as well. So that's another factor. There's lots of different, that's a really huge subject, and you should probably
whole spectrum,
Robin
you could say.
Cosford on that one.
I've got a good guest lined
but,
up who's going to come in and talk about all about that. But to suggest that diet doesn't play a factor on some of these symptoms is
I've had patients come back from the gastroenterologist, and I mean, for me, like, having worked in the gut microbiome adjusting kind of area for a while, to have patients go and see gastroenterologists who aren't interested, are not interested in the gut microbiome, like this magical, amazing field of new science,
and it's
that is still
specialty.
exploding. And you know, you go and have a colonoscopy, like, you've washed everything out anyway, and you're just looking at the organ, but like. And then they're like, there's still gastros that are telling people, oh, what you eat has got absolutely nothing to do with your condition of your gut.
Wow.
That's still happening.
So
That seems
what
just
does it?
illogical.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There are cancer specialists who will sit there and drink a can of Coke.
Oh, we've heard about this one.
Yes.
Did you hear about this one?
Yes.
Eddie Eneva came on and talked about a specific oncologist.
And I
Wow.
mean, you know, there's so much evidence around the multifactorial issues with cancer, and I think it's Jane McClelland wrote a book on, you know, all the different refactored kind of, like, it's mostly drug based, but then in the second half of the book she's kind of talking more about herbs like berberine and stuff like that, and fasting and things like that. So but there's multiple mechanisms by which cancer, you can sort of block its different mechanisms for how it's thriving. So I think it's just but sugar's definitely in there.
So it's long short of it,
There's
food
no
is
question
medicine.
on that.
Yeah.
Food is medicine.
All food is poison, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's almost
And
that
we're going more towards the, like, we're being, you know, when I started working in Australia, like, you know, you get people to avoid certain things and go more towards other things that are more health giving. So again, it's just that very natural organic diet, like less spraying, less, you know, and also if it's grown in decent soil, because if you just use NPK fertilizers, they've allowed more and more cadmium in that, and that's a toxic heavy metal that you don't want, and it blocks your zinc. So, you know, like, you do want all the nutrients in the food, obviously, because, you know, and then, but it's then, do you digest it well, and all of that side of things. But just to come back to autism, vitamin, like cod liver oil, vitamin A and D in a natural form. So because I also studied with the Biobalance group, which is nutrients for mental health, and they had a mental health stream and an autism stream. And some of the very experienced doctors from the US came over to teach us, and they've got kids verbal from non-verbal on cod liver oil, giving them cod liver oil and the amount of vitamin A that is naturally in that. So that's really worth.
And how is
How do
that
people
looking
figure
attainable?
into as well.
How do you figure that out? Like, I've got a cod, I've got its liver. Let's get the
Let's
oil
mash the
from
fuck
the
out of
liver.
that, yeah.
How does that work?
No, but look at the Nordic countries. Like,
Yeah.
they've been eating that stuff, you know, and, you know, anywhere that you get fresh, oily fish, you know, so you could look at it epidemiologically, I suppose, and work that stuff out. But, I mean, we know a lot of the causes of autism, don't we?
We don't know.
Right. Correlation.
Let's do some more studies.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've spoken to Chloe about some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, we did a whole
last
episode
week.
on that. Last week. Very well listened to episode.
Fascinating.
But that probably leads into a few things that because you have voluntarily deregistered from AHPRA, and the ongoing medical censorship of medical professionals in their field is probably attributed to that. So let's have I don't know how long we got actually, to be fair.
It's
don't have a
2:10.
clock in here.
2:10, I still
Oh,
got,
we got
I still
good.
got
Yeah.
like 45 minutes or so,
Yeah, so I guess where to start?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say all doctors have got a pretty healthy fear of AHPRA. So AHPRA was formed about 10 years ago, something like that. Before that, we had a medical board in every state, and so people were sold this idea of, oh, let's nationalise it, blah, 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 it'll be easier when you're moving and, blah. But the structure of AHPRA, I think, is still being discerned by some of my colleagues. There's AHPRA... it's like a Rottweiler. Like once they get you, like they keep on going, and you never get away from it.
Is that just the ego of the people involved, or is that their
people in AHPRA?
Yeah.
Or, it's not a healthy place. It's not a healthy system, and it's basically targeting doctors. It definitively targets doctors that are trying to actually bring people back to health, and so that I mean, a few years ago, before like the recent shitfuckery, like the
shitfucker is my new favourite word.
Oh, I love it.
The recent shitfuckery,
but also fuck-shittery as well. Just if you need variety.
Yeah. And AHPRA, for those listening, is Australian physicians?
Australian Health Practitioners Regulatory Agency, I think it was. Yeah. And like it's not federal, it's not state, and it's kind of like sandwiched in between as a corporation somewhere. Like it's got an ABN, it's kind of
right.
Like,
so if it has an ABN, it can make profit, which is always a bit of a worry.
Yeah, so we all pay to be persecuted. So all doctors, all health professionals, like nurses, physios, blah blah blah, it regulates. So there's kind of the code of conduct and all of that sort of stuff.
So you pay
to be persecuted.
It's like the teachers' registration board at WA. They don't do anything except for take
money off
to be registered. Yeah.
And then
really,
and then
it's like
punish you if
secretary.
you didn't.
Does it come out of your pay, or do you have to pay?
You have to pay it yourself.
You have to pay it from your tax.
It's tax deductible, but you still pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've
so big industry. So they take so loads of money, and then they persecute people if they step out of line, basically. And the really sinister thing has been this whole instant suspension that a lot of my colleagues and friends have been instantly suspended.
For what?
Social media posts, largely.
Wow. And what, suggesting that there should be something looked into?
Yeah, a whole range of things. But I think also people who have written exemptions in the last few years or...
wow.
Yeah. So, like, I'd never done anything. I'd never had a patient complaint. Not only do you pay your AHPRA, but you also pay your indemnity, and that's thousands more. So you've got these two things that you have to pay to be able to practice, basically.
Indemnity just covers you.
Indemnity is if there's if you actually do something wrong or there's negligence or something like that, and then that's they're the lawyers that are supposed to be supporting you, but. We've discovered is they're quite linked, actually, allegedly.
Because it's not, I mean, even though you're dealing with people's health and livelihoods, I guess it's not unreasonable to even just accept that sometimes a doctor will make a mistake.
Exactly. Like, people don't like to think about it, but, we are human beings. We do get tired and, there may be, mistakes can be made. So we need to accept that there is human error. Like in any other field, there's human error. You can't kind of go, oh no, they're always 100% brilliant all the time.
It just happens to be in a life or death
is
sort of.
So it's in it's in a difficult. So like if you're an anaesthetist, there's more likelihood of that. Or if you're an obstetrician, or do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So like they have much higher indemnity payments because there's more likelihood of something going. Badly wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, to play devil's advocate, if someone is going out of line with what they truly believe is best for public health, then you would want that to occur. But the problem is when there's almost a denial of evidence and no practice put into place where everybody that has gone against what the government have recommended has been punished. Is that kind of what's happened? Because they're there for a reason. If everyone truly believed that what the people were saying was detrimental, then you would want that as a public to step into play. But the problem
the public would want to be protected from dodgy doctors. So you might know, like, what was his name? Dr. Death in the UK, as an example. There was also the nurse who was killing the kids on ICU. Yeah. That one. Yeah. So that kind of thing, like that's that's obviously really rare. Mm-hmm. Doctors aren't allowed to go out with their patients or that sort of thing. But also there is, obviously people that are abusive in those positions and it is a position of power, let's face it. So, some of that, but, AHPRA seems to have redirected itself to social media posts rather than actually catching the abusers and pedophiles and stuff like that. Yeah. So, it's kind of like as the general public, who would you rather AHPRA deals with? Like, are you upset with me for posting something on social media? Does that really make you feel unsafe? No. Or, but this is what's been happening. And so some of my colleagues are still taking their cases right through the courts. I mean, you've probably heard of Billy Bay and, there's Miley and there's Valerie Pierce. There's a whole bunch of people that have never harmed. Yeah. Like there's a whole bunch now that have never harmed a patient. They've never harmed a patient. They've been picked up for social media. They've been picked up for writing exemptions. They've been picked up for all sorts of other
for protecting them.
For protecting their patients. Yeah. Miley actually saved her patient by providing them ivermectin and steroids to get them better. And she saved her patient, and but because if that information gets out...
It's so fucking corrupt.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
So saved her patient with ivermectin.
Treatments, repurposed treatment.
Yeah, a drug that had been demonized because it was described as more of a not preventative, but an early
treatment, you like the rest of medicine. We've always done early intervention, early treatment, right? Yeah. You don't kind of go, if you're a bit sick, go home till you're sicker, and then when you turn blue, then try and get an ambulance, and Like we've never done it like that.
And then for you, were you ever?
So I just got picked up on social media posts, but I'm probably on a list because I've been doing actually getting people better.
I'd say we're on a list of some type.
Yeah, we're all on some kind of list, right? So, I probably don't prescribe enough pharmaceuticals. I probably don't order enough tests. I probably don't, I'm not in the average, and a lot of the surveillance of doctors is like seeing where you're average. I mean, the hilarious thing I would say is that you get these random letters saying, you didn't order as many IVPs as somebody else. The IVP is the intravenous pyelogram when you've got kidney stones, right? Okay. And it's like I got this letter kind of going, you didn't order as many of these as other doctors. And I'm like, okay. What do you want? Do you want me to just write them randomly until I've hit the target? Or
it's ridiculous. It's like, my patients are healthy, or the place that
I've got a different catchment of people. Like I treat different people. Yeah. Like I got picked up for writing too many, doing proper thyroid testing. And also for not writing enough antipsychotics. I thought that'd be a really fun one. Let's write more antipsychotics and just hand them out to people because, we all need more of that happening out there. Yeah, that's right. Man. So that's, the insanity of this, again, the insanity of the system.
You can take antipsychotics for that.
That's what we need. Yeah, maybe I should have just written my own. Oh no, I can't prescribe.
The system's insane. Yeah, the insanity of the system is it's not doing what it's created to do, essentially.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's set up to create an ongoing loop of consistently
there's different loops without thought processes. I mean, I expect AI will make it worse or better.
Well, AI is written off a general collective of human thought, so if it's picking up all of our biases, then we're fucked anyway. Because it's gonna.
That's a good point.
AI just amalgamates whatever information it's got.
It still uses science, doesn't it? Wouldn't it?
Surely.
Well,
is it the science though? Yeah. Because if it uses the science,
then it's different to the peer-reviewed articles sponsored by the pharmaceutical company that is pushing the information forward to an AI bot. So, yeah, there's
never going to be out of the box thinking
That's
going
right.
into that, and we really need, you know, like I see myself as off the edges of the normal curve, like one way or the other, and we need that because that's where progress occurs. You need the out of the box thinkers. You need the people who are kind of like, okay, that's what you all think, but like, what about this thing?
And
you
it's
know,
absurd.
like that doesn't fit together. What are we going to do about that?
It's absurd to suggest that what we're doing is working because things are getting worse. Like
exactly.
The
Exactly.
life expectancy.
Yeah, by keeping everything in the normal curve and like let's all be normal. Let's order antipsychotics. Let's order more of this, more of that. It's kind of like, well,
cancers are going up, obesity rates are going up, diabetes is going up. All of these things are rising at alarming levels.
Autism especially.
Autism.
Yeah, absolutely.
All of these chronic illnesses, avoidable illnesses are all skyrocketing over the last 30, 40 years, and they keep suggesting that we're doing the right thing. And so to even suggest that we venture a little bit left or right of that and look into addressing the root cause is being
weird.
Is resulting in medical professionals being censored.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And is that sort of
So I just got picked up for social media posts. So either like there was a bot or there was a real person who isn't my patient anyway. So but anyway, got picked up. That got flagged and passed to AHPRA, and then AHPRA called you on a Friday to really maximise the impact over the weekend of like, and so then you get this letter in the mail about, this is what you did, and then because I was naive and I've never had a patient complaint before, I thought, this is what my indemnity is for. Let's call them.
Yeah.
And so then you call them and they're like, we've got a long wait. You know, I'm like, but I've only got a week to answer. So AHPRA put you under pressure. They kind of go, we've got to have a reply.
Yeah. And what is the
so they gave
reaction?
me a week or 2 weeks or something.
To retract?
Well, no. I mean, so then you go and see those lawyers, right? So then you're with your indemnity lawyers and all of that. And then they're like, we'll write to AHPRA, and then, you know, there's this toing and froing of all of this legal jargon and stuff.
To
and it's just
maximise
like,
their money because it draws it out.
I don't know. I don't think anyone wins out of this, really. And then it's like, you've got to do re-education. And right, we're going to give you 10 hours of re-education. So
what is re-education?
And then I had to write an essay. As well, and it was like, do you know in the Order of the Phoenix where like Harry's writing, I must not tell lies, and like it comes up in blood on the back of his. That's what I had to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they're forcing you to write an essay you don't believe in.
Well, you have to write an essay to kind of go, I was a really naughty girl.
Wow.
And, I won't do it again. And, so that's how they got the censorship. But, there was the March the 9th position statement that AHPRA put out that was like, we'll tell you what the science is, and don't you dare talk to any of your patients about anything other than the science that we've told you is the science.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
That's like trust.
Everybody should know this, right? Like people should know this is how the edges kind of get smoothed off, and all the other doctors have kind of gone, we'll just do what we're told then.
Yeah. So and when we had doctors coming to us in confidence and quietly DMing, saying that very thing that you just said, that was far more common than even we experienced. Yeah. That's crazy to fucking...
It's a bit scary.
But then that's why... So I did my 10 hours of re-education.
What did you learn?
Well, this is the bit. I actually learned that I was doing the right thing.
Oh, nice. So it's called reaffirmation.
Yeah, reaffirmation. But if you actually look up, and you can just look it up, the AMA Code of Ethics. So that was part of my re-education was like, make sure you read this kind of stuff. There's a whole load of psychology stuff about what you can and can't do with social media, how you can and can't communicate with patients, because all of that stuff. But then this ethical guidelines of the AMA is like, if you see wastage of money in healthcare, you better speak up about that. You know, you're a pillar of the community. You need to talk about things that you see that aren't right. You know, it's like, okay, so I did that one. You know, like your patient is your primary concern. You know, that one patient. And you know, you've got a doctor-patient relationship in confidentiality with that. But then you've got the government over here saying, "Oh, I want you to tell me, you know, who's got this certificate and that certificate and stuff." And you know,
and so to address each individual patient on their merit and prescribe them or address the root cause
or exempt them
is wrong somehow.
Well, somehow it got on the wrong line. Yeah, somehow it got on the wrong line of things to actually be doing. You know, patient confidentiality. You know, do no harm. Like proper. Like you can only do informed consent if you give people all of the information, right?
Yes, well,
so it's not informed consent otherwise, is it? So
heard
like that position statement says, don't give them informed consent. Essentially.
Do as you're told.
Yeah, this is the science. You tell your patients this science, not what you've found out because you've done your due diligence. You've actually looked at what's really going on. You've actually discovered some things that are more concerning that you're worried about that you don't want to have happening to your patients.
And were you still registered while you were doing reporting? As in, if there was injuries that came to you, were you reporting them or able to report them?
I mean, like my patients were kind of a different patient load because they were people that had already sought me out for functional medicine. Do you know what I mean? Like to an extent, and you know, early on in 2020, we sent out. I don't know if I should say that. You know, we educated patients on how to, this is another thing, is like how to look after your immune system, optimize your immune system, until the medical board sent out an email saying, don't talk about the immune system.
What the fuck? As a doctor,
like,
isn't your job to help us improve our immunity so we don't get sick?
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, what other system would you like me to not talk about next? You know, are we going to cut out the gastrointestinal system or the cardiovascular? You know, like,
so the interesting thing about like immune system's obviously very important for fighting disease, and then they would close a gym and keep open a McDonald's.
Yeah, that's right. So you go to the McDonald's, you can go to the bottle shop, and you can go to the brothel.
But you can't go
in that
there.
order.
We got to get you a girlfriend, I think. You know.
That's so good. But you can't go to the gym.
But you can't go to the gym, and you can't go outside for more than an hour.
That's
and
insane.
like you can't even get like, how are you going to get the right amount of, you know, full spectrum light? Like, do you have your go out at dawn for 10 minutes and then
at a certain point, I mean, I adhered to certain rules for a little bit to make other people feel comfortable. And then I started realizing I'm looking away from logic to serve people's ignorance. I'm no longer doing that. And then it got to a point where I was like, no, not wearing a mask around a shop. I don't care. I'm not doing it. And I just walked around. No one would say anything. They didn't, like, it wasn't as bad as you'd think. Like,
yes, it's quite surprising.
You could see people looking almost with jealousy going,
how
maybe I should just... How
did he get away with that?
And, you know, I didn't care. Like, if I wanted to go to the beach, I was going to the beach. Like, I just did what I wanted to do. And
went to the brothel when he needed to.
Yeah, that was the best part.
but that wasn't banned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it just became... There was a point in which I did adhere to rules for the convenience of others to make them feel better about themselves. And at a certain point, I just went, fuck it. But I'm no longer. It's too stupid.
So your version of that was to tender your resignation?
So, I mean, I was pretty tired because at the beginning of, you know, everything...
shit fuckery.
I did, the shit fuckery. Like, I did a lot of research. Like, you know, we were all on loads of Zooms. Like, we were kind of like talking with colleagues across Australia, getting together, kind of going, you know, what should we do? What's going to work? Okay, well, in functional medicine, we know CD and zinc, and Ian Brighthope talks about that. You know, even if we just got those three things into everybody and get them out in the daylight and do some exercise and like let's let's get the country moving. Like, let's get everybody onto good food and exercising and CD and zinc. And, you know, that would have been the obvious thing. And I guess it's all these discrepancies. And I've forgotten a lot of them because I noticed it all when it first came past, you know. But over time, you kind of forget some of the mad things. But
the sitting versus standing, all the stuff, that, all the loophole shit. Yeah,
you can sit and have a drink, but you can't stand.
Yeah.
Is that so it doesn't circulate more? Because
Wow,
there was no science behind that, so that was
yeah.
And did you feel that there was a common sentiment between everybody, but it was just fear of being struck off, or were people just
divided? Yeah.
What was the vibe on those Zoom calls? Allegedly.
Well, at the beginning, I think it was just like, okay, you know, guys, let's think about like what we can do. And so at that point, we didn't realise that we were being subterfuge and kind of like that. You know, we were being naughty by kind of thinking about the immune system and stuff. You know, we were just putting up, because not everybody is in functional medicine, right? So other doctors wouldn't know that stuff. And Medicare doesn't like us testing vitamin D, for example. Right. So you have to fit certain criteria for that one.
Isn't that insane? Like the early numbers were even showing that the vitamin D deficiency was a key contributor. Do we not just want to go, well, let's make sure everyone's got
optimised.
Optimised with their vitamin D.
Even the UK put that in the paper. They even
said,
they even said, you know, everybody should make sure that they have like 1,000 or 2,000 international units of vitamin D, but not in Australia, because you've got to slip, slop, slap and stop the sun getting into you. And Yeah, so, I mean, so initially it was a lot of functional medicine doctors that were like trying to solve the problem, you know, because as you would, you kind of like, oh shit, this sounds bad. What can we do about it? Right? So, so I think it was just, we kind of got together and we were talking about things, and then, you know, inevitably talking about repurposed drugs and nutrients, nutraceuticals and all of that. So quercetin and, you know, a lot of the stuff that obviously has ended up on the FLCCC protocols. I guess you guys know about all of that stuff.
Was that McCullough's one?
McCullough, like that group that, you know, you can look up.
Yeah, there's three things on it.
Frontline critical care. Ooh, I think I've missed a C out.
Yeah. But yeah, I had a look into that after this. I don't even know the name of it. Catakinase. It's one of the.
Oh, nattokinase.
That's the one.
That one. Yeah.
That with two other things. Yeah. So you can get them all on Amazon.
Yeah. So, like, you know, all of those protocols started coming out. So at least, you know, we could then refer patients to, you know, go look this up in that. Yeah.
And then when one of the biggest media influencers on the world, Joe Rogan, decided to use that protocol, he was then demonized for using it even though it worked.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Like, you do these things. I mean, like Miley's healed her patient who kept them alive by giving them the drug that shall not be named that, you know, is for horses, apparently. You know, so I guess, you know, doing a lot of extra work. So I was really, really tired by the time, you know, because it kicked off in February, March 2020. So by the end of 2021, like, you're not only dealing with your normal patient load, but also everybody's anxiety. Yeah. And then there's a whole load of people that want to get in and see you because you know stuff. Yeah. And, you know, and then dealing with the AHPRA shitfuckery. Yeah. So, you know, by December 2021, I was like, oh, you know, I think I'm a bit burnt out. Maybe I'll have some time off, kind of a thing. Right. And then as things evolved, I guess, the combination of that and recognizing that it's actually moral injury. It's not burnout. So a lot of people use the word burnout, but moral injury is where you're doing exactly the right thing. And then you get punished for it. And, you know, recognising the flip of that and recognising that actually I don't want to work in a system that is the cabal of, you know, pharmaceutical. Yeah. And so that was really tough. But, like, it was like, oh, you know, your $1,000 is due. Well, what are you doing with my $1,000? You're just surveillancing me, and you're going to be picking at me until you kill me off anyway.
Yeah.
So
why
would I pay you to do that? I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be participant in that system anymore.
So what does that result in? Where do you move from
that
there?
means I'm kind of in poverty, and my bills are kind of adding up because I can't afford to pay for anything.
Yeah.
And like the tiles are falling off my bathroom wall. Probably haven't bought any new clothes.
Well, if you need some insurance, all trades covered.com.au. Sure.
Oh, okay. Maybe they can help me.
Well, that's so you lose your income. Are you allowed to practice as anything else? Is there like a
they've tried that on other people, where they've banned doctors from doing anything in healthcare whatsoever. So there's other doctors that are feeling under duress with that. I think coaching is still okay. I have got my Ayurvedic qualifications and Fellowship of AHPRA qualifications and things like that. So yeah,
I like the word moral injury. Made me think it's the exact opposite of virtue signalling. The people that are trying to say that they're doing the right thing, but wear a mask, get you vaccinated, whereas the ones that were speaking, which has now been vindicated to be the truth, and being persecuted for it. Moral injury, it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I did want to, it's been itching at me, the Ayurvedic.
A hot question.
Yeah, no, it's not a hot one. It's just something that so Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic's been around for 4,000 years. There's two things in my conspiracy brain. The theory that we were an advanced civilization that was wiped out 13,000 years ago. Is that some sort of medicine or information that we've retained from that? I don't know if that is anything that you go down. But then the second part is what about the flip side where people think that if you kill a rhino and have its horn, that you're going to have a better libido? That's the things where they've noticed, I'm going to do this horn, then shoot all the rhinos and have rhino horn to fix your libido, which clearly I don't think has been proven to work. All those alternative medicines where...
Yeah. I mean, I think Chinese medicine is very intricate, and I think, there's a lot of different substances that they use, and I didn't study traditional Chinese medicine, so I can't answer on that one. Okay. And I would also, Ayurveda is more, it's still do the least harm kind of thing. And it's more about rebalancing. I think it's fascinating. I guess you've got your ancient Egyptians and all the things that they used to know, and I don't know, I've kind of got lost in time and space now as to what's real and what isn't in terms of the ancient civilization stuff, because, people are discovering all sorts of interesting things, but we're going to be, But, a lot of the things used in Ayurveda, like saffron and honey and ghee, and, these were also very much lauded in the Egyptian system. So I do think a lot of the same things, they're all natural things from the planet, and so it's all about natural healing, and it's about, there's such a range of different ways of looking at that, but it's
the fact that something for so old still works just interests me. Because we consider ourselves the smartest point of evolution so far. Yeah,
but I think that's with getting misled. I mean, the upsetting thing with Big Pharma is my recognition that actually, that the cabal of medicine took over medicine before I was even born. Yeah. So that's and it hasn't been a recent thing. It's the Rockefeller stuff and so forth. So
well, it feels like it's more of a going back to prevention rather than
we've been told a pill for every ill, haven't we? And everybody just is so stressed, and they're carrying on, and soldier on, and just take this and you can carry on, and so, and it's very inviting to be told, okay, you've got this problem, all you need to do is take this every single day. That's kind of an easy answer, as opposed to okay, you've got to meditate for 10 minutes, you've got to do this exercise,
quick
and
fix.
So, to really rebalance the system, it's not everybody that comes to see me for functional medicine. It's the people that actually are prepared to do those things, do the things that, and, to rebalance the system is probably more effort, but then it's more rewarding as well. And that's the choice and consequence stuff, isn't it? We're back to that sort of idea of, what, which way am I going to choose? So today I'm choosing the ice cream, and tomorrow I'm choosing the, greens or whatever it is, or carnivore thing, or, eating raw liver or...
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if you want raw liver, you can have some with feed.
Yes.
There's organs and beef.
The beef liver.
I guess, what does a healthy gut microbiome look like? Is it...
Variety, good variety. Like it's... Yeah, so you want to have the most optimal variety.
Right.
And, there's lots of different bugs, but it's almost like your fingerprint is different for each person. Everybody's gut microbiome is different.
Because they say serotonin is produced in our gut.
Yeah, 80% of it is produced in the gut.
If we've got all this big mixture of things going on, how does that...
Oh, the wizardry of the human system is amazing.
Yeah.
You've got this amazing healing system. Yeah. Well, that's God, I suppose, isn't it? It's the blueprint of it all, like the energetic blueprint of, like how does a flower become like that, and how everybody's individual expression from the DNA and so forth. So, so what we do know is that we do need the certain keystone species, and then, it's really about having a really broad variety. Okay. And so, you've heard of Lactobacillus bifidus probably.
Yes.
Akkermansia.
Haven't heard of that one. Sounds like a Harry Potter spell.
Akkermansias, yeah, exactly. Akkermansia, you definitely need.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really keystone species. And then all of the ones that produce butyrate. So butyrate is one of the, it's like an oily substance that keeps the colonocytes healthy.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I guess there's many roads to Rome in that sense that, these ones over here could make butyrate, and then these ones over here could as well. So it's not that you have to have this certain set. It's not like, your set of coloured pencils and like they're all present and correct. It's more like, have you got enough butyrate producers? Have you got, something that cares for the lining and so forth.
And people can have tests on their gut biome to see...
They can. It's quite interesting, but I think, it's probably money better spent is actually to just make sure that you get a good amount of fresh organic food with enough fibre every day, really.
Is everything reversible with food? Or is there some things where you need a poo transplant, which I've heard about, to get your gut biome going again?
I mean, if it's really severe, then that is another, it has to be pretty, I mean, those have shown some quite amazing results at times, but for most people, it's really, just optimizing and just, things. I mean, actually, to come back to the ice cream, like they do have, a lot of the additives that are in things almost like sweep out a lot of your gut microbiome. So that's so that's bad. And obviously,
no ice cream.
Occasional, like give it time to recover. So not every day or whatever, but but also like.
Well, that is true. I do find that when you have too much dairy of ice cream, you do shit like not a good time.
Well, maybe you got a bit of lactose intolerance.
Maybe, that's it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It goes back to that thing. Everyone's different. They all have a different bio.
Just respect that people have different.
Yeah.
Like, that's not hard, is it?
Exactly. There's no one
there's no one
fix to everything. Yeah. But I'm so sorry. I'm getting to the point where I have to go pick up my daughter. But before we do finish up, been an incredible chat. What do you want to plug moving forward? Because you did suggest before that there's you can't practice.
Yeah, so I do have a Buy Me a Coffee, so if people want to donate and keep me alive and all the IP and all the information that I've got in here, things are pretty shit for a lot of us. A lot of us are kind of like going into year 5 of, stress and 3 years of no decent income or no income really.
An organic dairy-free coffee?
Yes.
It's actually books. You can ask for books versus coffee, but it's basically a donation site, so people can donate whatever they want to donate. Nice. And I would be very appreciative of that. On that site, I've actually got exactly what you want, which is my recipe book, which is about $24 for biome builders, which will actually teach you exactly, like it's got the information, it's got the recipes. So then you've got things that you can make and you can take to all your Christmas things that you go to. And it'll be like, this is good for your biome, and that's a.
So how do they find it?
conversation.
Buymeacoffee.com and search for Dr.
Dr. Sally Price, Buy Me a Coffee, Dr. Sally Price. They can find me on there.
Send me the link and I'll put it in the show notes.
SALLY.
Sorry?
Sally, SALLY.
Yep,
Yep.
that's right.
And Price, just spelled with a $sign.
P-R-I-C-E.
Okay, awesome.
Delby, you got
I'm definitely
anything to
gonna buy one. What day is it? No shows, just Fringe Festival. So if you want to come and see my stand-up shows, they are on sale now. 2 white guys rapping, hashtag the ick, 33 years single, all over Perth. Fringeworld.com.au.
Love it.
Yeah.
Nothing to plug. Join the Patreon. We do have our Fringe room opening up, but I'll plug the shows next time.
If any Adelaide listeners, I'm coming to Adelaide mid-Feb to mid-March as well.
Volgens zeg. We'll get him back on when he's here. But thank you so much
thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us.
Thanks for having me. It's
Awesome.
been a delightful
Good
conversation.
fun.
Yeah.
And thanks for standing strong and trying to heal people.
Yeah, or at least relieve suffering. So.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.